The Washington Capitals are the first team to clinch a spot in the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs. An incredible turnaround for them as last year, they were the last team in the playoffs with the worst goal differential among any playoff team since 1991. And they entered with the best goal differential in the Eastern Conference and with an extremely balanced lineup that can score from all four forward lines. When they made the playoffs last year, they were sellers at the trade deadline, as they dealt Anthony Mantha to the Vegas Golden Knights, Yevgeny Kuznetsov to the Carolina Hurricanes, and Joel Edmondson to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Noticing the concern about the team's lack of goal scoring and subpar defense, new general manager Chris Patrick made several key moves in the offseason to boost the team's depth. They not only started by trading away Darcy Kemper to the Los Angeles Kings to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, but also acquired Logan Thompson from Vegas, Andrew Mangiapane from the Calgary Flames, and Jacob Chychrun from the Ottawa Senators that sent Nick Jensen the other way. During free agency, they made several sneaky additions, the most prominent of such being Matt Roy on a 6-year deal to fill in the hole left behind by Jensen's departure. For depth insurance, they added Taylor Radish and Brandon Duhaime to fill the rest of the bottom 6 forward group, and everything has paid off. Not only did the Capitals get into a playoff spot, they also thrust themselves back into Stanley Cup contention to be the biggest surprise team of the Eastern Conference. With Alex Ovechkin once again leading the charge, he entered the playoffs fresh off breaking Wayne Gretzky's goals record. The greatest goal scorer in NHL history, although he is not the same player that he was in his prime, is still a one-of-a-kind scorer, and is always the threat to score when on the ice. Of course, like the many great players in the sport of hockey, he is not alone. The aforementioned Dubois has rebounded to his Winnipeg Jets form, showcasing the talents that he has when he was selected 3rd overall in 2017 as a tough forechecking power forward. Dylan Strome is arguably the most underrated top-line center in the NHL as of right now. He's nearing a point-per-game pace for the first time since his first year with the Chicago Blackhawks. Tom Wilson continues to be the definition of an agitator and could end up being the future captain of the Caps. He just set a new career high in goals and points. He's a constant threat on the ice as a top 6 option. Mangiapane's numbers are not quite up to what they were of Calgary, but he's versatile, can play on both special teams, and can slot anywhere from the 2nd to 4th lines. The rest of the veteran core includes 4th liners Brandon Duhaime and Nick Dowd, defensive-minded stalwart Lars Eller, and middle 6 scorer Anthony Beauvillier. With the veteran talent on the forward core comes an infusion of young talent, including breakout players in Alexei Protas and Connor McMichael. McMichael has led the team in goals at one point this season, and now that he has another year under his belt, he can impact the game to his team's favor. Protas was the bigger surprise, as he was one of the more overlooked players on the team, and analytics were not favorable towards him. Hulking Winger had his first big breakthrough with a 30-goal, 60-point campaign, thriving at 5-on-5. And Ryan Leonard is now a part of the team after signing his entry-level contract. He tore up the NCAA in his sophomore year, leading the nation in goals, and was the first player with consecutive 30-goal seasons in collegiate hockey since Cam Atkinson. The defensive core is one of the best in the league. It has 2 top-pairing options in offseason acquisition Chychrun and longtime power play quarterback John Carlson. Their styles of play contrast with one another, despite the 2 of them being offensive-minded defensemen. Carlson's more of a distributor, while Chychrun adds a scoring touch to the back end. The other offensive defenseman is Rasmus Sandin, and his development of Washington as a second-pairing defenseman is rounding smoothly. Washington's defensive success has led them to being a top 10 team in goals against per game. Roy adds him another shutdown defenseman to a team that already has a premier shutdown defenseman in Martin Fehervary. Trevor Van Riemsdyk has also been a back-end stalwart on the 2nd or 3rd pairings over the last several years. This defensive unit also kills penalties at a top 10 rate in the league, and they're also having a goaltending turnaround from last season. Logan Thompson was on a steady decline in his final years at Vegas, but his first year at Washington, he thrived. It initially looked like he and Charlie Lindgren will split starts as the 1A and 1B netminders, but Thompson showed that he is the clear-cut starting goaltender. Lindgren was forced to assume starting goaltender duties last season because Kemper didn't work out to how the Capitals thought he would be, but he solid insurance in case an injury happens to Thompson or something else. This team is not only ready to compete for the playoffs, but also for the Stanley Cup, and head coach Spencer Carberry and his impact that he has on the team has a lot to do where they are right now. Carberry is no stranger to being a winner. He coached the Hershey Bears, the Capitals' AHL affiliate, to a regular season title, which earned him an assistant coaching job with the Toronto Maple Leafs. His players have added more to their game wherever he has been. The concern, however, is with the team's power play. It's been shaky over the last few weeks, though they did improve from where they were last season by at least 1.2%. The Capitals still do have the pieces for a deep run, with their aspirations for their second Stanley Cup in franchise history.